Good evening from PLUGHITZ Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we are here with episode 528 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, for Sunday, June 2nd, 2019. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, facial recognition goes to school, Xbox goes to the competition, and iTunes goes out to pasture. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, on any of the podcatchers, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the Podcast Play app in the Windows Store, the myriad of others like Spotify and TuneIn, on any of our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Periscope, Mixer, Twitch, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, or of course on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. Like I said, this here is F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, the flagship show on the PLUGHITZ Live family of content. There are two ways that you can join us. The first is Sunday nights at about 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You can go to f5live.tv/join us, and there you can chat with us in the studio during the show. Give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. We always love that. Or if you can't join us live, that is okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe will show you all of our shows, including F5 Live, the Pilch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, which is the new name for the special events feed, and a myriad of others as well, and all the different ways that you can join us. I guess that's the spiel. I want to thank those of you who are joining us back after our hiatus. It wasn't until tonight that I realized that F5 Live was not on at all during the month of May. So we definitely apologize for our absence, but May was a very strange month with collision and all kinds of stuff going on. But the good news is we're back and we're here. So hooray! Avram, it's not unusual for us to not have a show and you and I not to talk during that time. So how have you been?
Okay. I'm still backward. Right now I think it's like 9 in the morning, which is probably good for now. But yeah.
Until tomorrow morning.
Yeah, until tomorrow morning when I think it's 9 at night. It takes me a while to get over being a Computex, so being in Taiwan with the 12-hour time difference, so
that always is any kind of time change is confusing, but a full 12-hour time change must take a long time to revert both ways.
Yep.
So obviously we'll be talking about Computex later, but overall, how was it?
Oh, good. Very exciting show this year. Lots of great new things announced. Mm-hmm. A lot of major product announcements. It was much more interesting than last year. Right. And as always, it's fun to go to Taiwan. We get to visit different company offices and see different things that we couldn't see here. So we got to visit MSI's office. Somebody else got to visit ASUS's office, Acer's office. I got to visit the ASRock office.
Nice.
So we all got to get like a little tour around of some of the where some of these companies are doing their work.
Gotcha. And especially being at Tom's Hardware, getting to see that is way more relevant to what you're doing day to day.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they didn't take us to like a factory or something.
No,
it was really, we just went to people's offices. So, but it was cool, and seeing all the interesting new stuff, new products was cool. AMD coming out with announcing their new chips was a big deal. Intel announcing they're finally doing a 10 nanometer chip was a big deal. So it's something.
Indeed. And obviously we'll talk in greater detail on that during the Pilch Point in just a little while. So on my side, obviously, Collision came down about a week ago. And it was such a good show. I'm so glad to have the opportunity to get to talk to those startups, because boy, do you get pitched some interesting ideas. Sometimes you're like, ooh, that's crazy, and could never survive in the market. But, most of the time, the stuff that they pitch there, you're like, that is a great idea. Why don't I already have it installed? So I left with a folder full of new apps on my phone. Care of Collision this year. And our content from that, for those of you who are following along, if you go to collision.live, that is where all of that content will start showing up. But we've got a couple of events that we're behind on, so lots of stuff being published right now. Also, it's not on a Sunday this year, which will be wonderful. But the Drew Project, which is the organization I'm involved with in honor of my friend who died at Pulse a couple of years ago, our annual fundraiser will be on the 14th this year. So if anybody's interested, the drewproject.org is a great place to find out information and possibly donate if you would like to. We would definitely appreciate it, because we gave 4 or 5 $5,000 scholarships to some students yesterday. So it's always good to have support on that. But it does mean that the anniversary event won't happen on a Sunday, so it won't interfere with the show. So hooray! That'll be the first time that's been that way. So yeah. That'll be good. Anyway, so I guess with that, how about we get down to some news?
Yep.
This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a phone, a tablet, or even the Johnson Controls Glass smart thermometer, there's a little bit of everything. And kind of sticking with the topic from a moment ago, the Microsoft Store even has a whole collection of Pride-related products, including a custom type cover for the Surface Pro, and a skin for the Surface Pro, and a number of other products as well. Plus, of course, things like the Samsung Galaxy S10 and a whole bunch of other products, VR glasses, and all kinds of stuff. All available from the Microsoft Store. And remember, if you're a student, you get a student or military, actually, you get a 10% discount on almost everything. And you can find all of that by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. So, over the last year or so, there has definitely been a swing in public perception on facial recognition. There was a lot of excitement over it for unlocking an iPhone or a Galaxy phone or something like that. But then Amazon started selling their technology to the government, and the public perception has changed significantly. And there have even been employee and public protests against Amazon and Microsoft for developing this technology and allowing the government access to it. And despite all of that, a school district in New York State, as of tomorrow, this coming Monday, will be implementing it in their schools. Now, the school district claims that the intention is to be able to identify people who are not supposed to be there ahead of time, people who are there to do harm, sex offenders, people like that. But there's a lot that would have to go into setting this up to make that possible, including having a database of faces of acceptable people, which I think is weird myself. Plus, of course, we know that how easy it is to trick facial recognition, right? I think the iPhone can be unlocked with a photo. The last I heard, the Galaxy S9, I don't know about the 10, was unlocked by a twin. So, facial recognition is not infallible. So this seems like a weird move to me. What do you think, Avram?
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody wants to have higher security at schools. There's, especially with all of the, things that have happened, it's all the violence that's happened at schools.
Sure.
Nobody wants to be the administrator or the principal or whatever of the school that has a horrible event. So, they will bend over backwards to do what they can.
And even less, they want to be the one that the news says, oh yeah, by the way, they knew 6 months ago that something was going to happen because of this person, and they ignored it.
Right, exactly. So, I get why they want to do it. Obviously, like so many other things in our society in the last, many years, it's security first, privacy later.
Sure.
Even if the security is not necessarily accurate. So, what can you really say? I mean, it seems like if it's not working accurately, they shouldn't do it. But who can blame the school for doing everything in their power to say that they're protecting the kids?
Sure. And the director of technology for the school district did say that they tested the technology. From what it sounds like, they did a single test with a pair of twins, and it didn't work. So they only ran one test, and the single test was a failure, and they said, good enough. It seems sketchy to me if that's the case. Hopefully his quote is poor. Hopefully the guy just didn't speak well, and they ran more than one test, and they only had one failure. But the way he spoke sure sounded like they only ran one test, and it was a failure. So that's not great. My fear is that for facial recognition to work, there has to be a database, either of like a whitelist or a blacklist, right?
Yeah.
And so a whitelist would mean that every child in the school district's face would be in a database that could then be a problem, right? Because technology like this is going to be a lightning rod for hacktivists to prove that it's a bad idea. So they're going to try and get that database of children's photos. Ooh, that's not great. The other side is you've got a blacklist, but that means what? You've got to have an active database of the people who aren't allowed in the school. Well, that's not ever going to work, because it's never... it's always a surprise, seemingly, when the wrong person is in the school. So the person who comes in is not going to be on the blacklist, and it's not going to work anyway. It just seems like this is so far from usable right now.
Yeah.
And with the controversy over the technology, the fact that there have been anti-government use of facial recognition protests, it seems like a weird time to do this. The superintendent basically said that, we don't care about public opinion. It's legal, so we don't care. Which is also a weird stance. Like, it's legal, so... Also a statement that seems like it's inviting trouble to me, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen here. The New York Civil Liberties Union has already said that they're going to try and fight this. So I don't know. It just seems like a weird move today with, Facebook constantly being attacked for things like this, for the school district to go, nah, we'll do it right. They've got all the money, but we're the ones that'll get it right. It just seems crazy, but I guess we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks between them and the New York Civil Liberties Union. I don't know.
Yep.
Do you know where Lockport is?
No.
Okay, well, then it's probably nowhere near you then.
No. That sounds like it could be upstate.
Yeah, probably. So obviously we'll keep we'll keep our eyes on this as things go because weird. And that music means it's time for the Pilch Point with Avram Pilch. This week's Pilch Point is proudly powered by Newegg. Whether you're building a new PC or upgrading an existing one, Newegg has everything you need to make that happen. Whether you need processors and motherboards, power supplies, or you're looking for closed components like monitors or full systems, Newegg's got it all. They've even got a whole bunch of maker products, which I know is a huge market right now, including Raspberry Pi and Arduino stuff, all available. And they have daily deals where they've got gaming laptops and PCs and even Bluetooth audio systems on sale, and they change every day. To find all of those deals, you can go to pilchpoint.live/Newegg. I forgot how our show opened there for a second. We haven't opened it that way in like 4 years. Oh, that's funny. Anyway, so let's pretend like we've been doing this for a while, and let's talk about Computex, because that just finished up, right?
Yes. So the biggest hardware show of the year for PCs anyway, more important than CES in a lot of ways, was in Taiwan last week. And I was there along with 5 other members of the Tom's Hardware staff. We were covering all the big announcements and all the new products. And, we even got to visit some of the companies, major companies' offices. But the big news, so let's talk about what the most important products were that we saw at the show. So, and you can see, of course, our list of best of Computex and coolest stuff that we saw at Computex, which didn't make the best list, and coolest case mods, and a lot of other coverage at tomshardware.com. But to start with the things that were on our best list, AMD blew everybody away when, as expected, they announced the new 3rd generation Ryzen desktop chips. They now are going to have a 12-core, 24-thread processor that is called a Ryzen 9 that is going to be available July 7th. All of their new processors are going to be available on July 7th because they're 7 nanometer processors, so 7 for the 7 nanometer. They are charging a lot. Their top of the line processor, their Ryzen 9, is $499. The best Intel processor you can get is 8 cores for that price. So they're obviously, out-coring Intel. Mm-hmm. Whether that translates to better performance in the apps that people care about, like gaming, is kind of an open question. But you're certainly going to get a lot of threads and a lot of cores, whether you get that or you get the Ryzen 7. One of their other processors. This is obviously going to be be big. And the other thing that's really important about the new 3rd generation Ryzen is that if you get the new motherboards, the new X570 motherboards to go with them, you will have support for PCIe 4.0. Ooh. So what that means is you can have an SSD that is a lot faster than the current SSDs, because it can saturate, it has more bandwidth to go. So Gigabyte, Patriot Memory, and Corsair all announced SSDs that are going to use the same controller, the Phison E13 controller, that's going to allow them to get up to about 5 gigabytes a second if you use them on the PCIe, if you use them on something that has PCIe 4. So, that's really impressive, considering like a top of the line M2 SSD today is maybe 2,000, 2,500, usually less than 2,000 megabytes per second. So So this is more than double that. And faster drives are coming still, and it's possible that in a year or so we'll see ones that are 8 gigabytes a second. But Intel right now does not support PCIe 4. However, we all know that Intel's almost certainly going to support it next year.
Mm-hmm.
So these companies are a little bit ahead of the curve of what we're all going to see. Now, speaking of things that are ahead of the curve a little bit, MSI showed off their GT76 Titan laptop. This is a laptop that has a desktop Core i9 9900K CPU inside, where all 8 cores are running at 5 gigahertz all the time. They're running overclocked. The thing has a ridiculous amount of heat pipes and fans to make sure that it's cool enough to stay overclocked like that. So, wow. So it's an impressive feat of engineering. Obviously, it's around 9 pounds, and it's gonna be I think $3,500 or so. So certainly gonna have to spend some money to get it and be willing to carry something heavy.
But if you're the person that it's designed for, like
a professional gamer, pretty much.
Yeah, or
a professional esports gamer,
or somebody, even maybe somebody who needs a laptop to do video editing out in the wild. Like somebody. There's a very specific niche market for this, and most of those people are going to know what they're getting themselves into before they purchase it. They know it's going to be more expensive, and they know it's going to be heavy. Right?
Yeah. So anyway, so that was pretty cool. Asus announced its ZenBook Pro Duo, which is the latest in a line of, which is a laptop that has a second screen above the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I think the jury's out on whether people want a second screen above the keyboard. It's cool to have a second screen for sure, but if you have to look down for it, I don't know if that's a good experience. I think they're primarily pushing it for okay, you can keep secondary information there, but I really just want a second screen on the side of my laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of second screens on the side of your laptop, Asus also announced the ROG XG17, a portable 17-inch monitor that operates at 240 hertz. So it is a portable gaming monitor, and
which is crazy. I love that.
It is a portable gaming monitor, and it will not only just work with the PC, it will also work with a Nintendo Switch or a console or anything you want, because it has an HDMI in as well as a USB-C alt mode in. So you could use it with anything. You could even use it with your Raspberry Pi, although you probably won't get 240 hertz out of your Raspberry Pi, but you can use it. So
I imagine that when you're using it like with a Switch, the Switch can't power it, right? You'd have to, because it's coming off of HDMI, you'd have to power it separately when you're using something like that. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. That's true. You will. Obviously, it's a great show for PC components. So we saw a lot of crazy case designs. One of my favorites is the P200 from Thermaltake. It is just basically a block of coolant. That is what it is. It looks like a nice block of ice. It is just a clear block that stands up, and you put all of your components, screw all of your components onto the side of it. It holds coolant, like whatever coolant you want. You run the tubes, to how you want to do it, and that's it. That's your cooling solution, and everything is exposed to the air. It's and it's RGB too, so it looks like everything, all of your components, your power supply, your motherboard, are stuck to a block of RGB ice. What it looks like. I
saw photos of this, and it looks so cool. I don't know how practical it is in the real world.
Not practical.
But it's so cool to look at.
But we saw many practical cases, but that one was kind of fun. Another one that was kind of fun, although this is not exactly brand new, as they keep reiterating on the same design, is the Lianli DK04. That is a desk that is a computer. It's a hydraulic desk that you can, use a button to lift up and down, so you can make a standing desk or whatever height you want. Under the glass is where you put your computer, your components. It is a chassis, and they also have the DK05, which is larger and fits 2 computers under the hood. But what's also neat is if you don't want people looking at under the glass and seeing your beautiful computer that you created, there's a fog button, and it uses, I'm not sure exactly the science of this. It uses electric current to make the glass change state so that now it's opaque. Sort of I know there's some bathroom stalls like this. Anyway, it's that's really cool. I mean, it's going to be like $1,500 or more, so you got to really like the idea of it. But it's a cool idea to have your desk be the computer, for sure. And one more cool idea I want to mention, we have a lot more on the site, is the SteelSeries Apex Pro keyboard. So this is I don't think anybody has done exactly this before. They're SteelSeries, well known in the keyboard and mice and headset world. Their new keyboard, the Apex Pro, is going to have a special switch that they have come out with. And what it does is it allows you to adjust the actuation point digitally between 0.4 and 3.6 millimeters. So if you want to hit your keys a lot faster because you're in a first-person shooter, you can make it a really low number, like 0.4, which means if you just rest your finger on the key, it's pressing. But if you're worried about typos, you can make it a lot deeper actuation point. And you can actually do that on a per key basis and a per program basis. So if you like to play games that are first-person shooters and you want your WASD keys to be super sensitive, you can do that. But then when you switch to Microsoft Word, everything goes down to a more reasonable number. So that's pretty cool, and it does it by using a new type of key switch design that actually uses magnetic fields. So this key switch stem never touches the contact like it does on a normal keyboard. It just goes down, and then as it's going closer and closer, the magnetic sensor can sense how far away it is. Oh, you're 3 millimeters away, and that's the setting for actuation. Actuate. So it knows exactly how far away the stem is from the sensor, and that's how it knows.
Fascinating.
Now, one thing about this keyboard, it probably won't be 100% to my taste because it uses linear switches. So it's got red style switches, which is kind of what you would want for something where you're trying to adjust the actuation. But I like this, but I really like my clicky switches for typing. So, this isn't that, and really can't be because of how, but a lot of people, especially gamers, they love their linear red style switches, and that's what this has in a way you can adjust. So very cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I had read a little bit about that keyboard, but not enough. It's definitely not to that extent. It's really cool to hear how it works, because it's obviously it's a fascinating idea and unique, because when you're typing versus when you're playing a game, what you want is very different, and having to swap out keyboards or something like that is not fun. So having one that can adjust to what you're doing, I love.
See, now what I would yes, it's really innovative. I don't know if this is physically possible. I would love to see someone create a keyboard that would allow you to adjust the feel of the keys. Not just the actuation point, but how they feel. Like, oh, I want a clicky key right now. I want it really clicky. Oh, I want a linear key right now. Let me flick a switch. I have no idea how you could do that because these all require different types of mechanical key, unless you somehow use magnets to change the feel of the key. But
to create resistance
for you. But anyway, this is a really really interesting keyboard, and we look forward to testing it. Anyway, I recommend everybody go to tomshardware.com, check out our list of best of Computex, our list of coolest things at Computex, and our list of craziest case mods at Computex, which we picked only 20 out of the 100 we saw. But number one is the Heineken beer dispensing case.
I saw that.
So, and yes, I can attest that Cherie actually drank a beer from it. The beer is real.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
Yeah. No doubt.
That's great. I love that. Well, I was following along as best I could throughout Computex, and I have not seen the wrap-ups yet, so I look forward to checking those out on Tom's Hardware. Well, as always, Avram, I appreciate you telling me about things that I wasn't able to attend, and obviously we'll have more of it soon. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. All the accessories you need to up your game on both PC and console are available from Razer. Whether you're looking for a mouse and keyboard, a webcam, or even a full laptop, Razer is the source for all of that. And right now they've got 2 really cool custom sets that are available. The first is the Stormtrooper edition. There is a Black Widow keyboard, and Atheris, I think is how it's pronounced, mouse, and then their Goliathus giant mouse pad, all available with Stormtroopers in the design, and they all look pretty cool, even for me who has very little interest in Star Wars. But then they have also added a Mercury and a Quartz collection to their products. The Mercury is all white in a really cool way, and the Quartz is a pinkish, well, no, I guess it's pretty in-your-face pink, and everything from the mics and the headphones to the laptops themselves can be purchased in these new colors. You can find out about all of that by going to f5live.tv/Razer. As somebody who occasionally likes white technology, especially for gaming stuff, the Mercury collection is pretty cool. Anyway, that's not what we're going to talk about. We're actually going to talk about PC gaming and Microsoft's seemingly ever-shifting commitment to it. We all remember the weirdness that was games for Windows Live that expired in 2013, leaving people who had made purchases there out. To be quickly followed by Xbox on Windows, which Microsoft had committed right up front to not let it be games for Windows Live. And so far, so good. In fact, it seems like every time you get a Windows update, certainly your semi-annual big Windows updates like we just had last week, the Xbox Game Bar gets better with way new features, cool stuff. You can control everything from mixer streaming to volume. You can even see system performance all on one screen now, which is really nice. But there's always been that kind of fear of what was going to happen. And Microsoft, in an attempt to alleviate some of that, has, in their pre-E3, made 2 big announcements. One is not a surprise. Avram and I talked about it a couple of weeks back, and by that, I probably mean last quarter. And that is Xbox Game Pass coming to the PC. Xbox Game Pass, for those who don't know, is the subscription service where for however much per month. It's $10 a month on the Xbox. We don't know what it'll be here. You get unlimited access to all the games that are in the Game Pass. Right now, there's about 100 titles on the Xbox, and they rotate. So you get tired of a game, good news, it's going to go away at some point and something new will come in to replace it. That service is coming to the PC. It's not a surprise, but it is exciting because, you know, we talked about the rumors a while back, but it is nice to see them say, yes, it is coming to PC, and they've already got a list of some of the launch titles. What they don't have is when it will launch, what it will cost. My guess is in a couple of weeks at E3, we will hear the numbers, the dates and prices. But for me, this is a good thing, Avram.
Yeah, I mean, it gives more opportunity for people to play more, to get more value on their PC. So, you know, I think that's good. That obviously Microsoft is trying to capture PC gamers as well as Xbox gamers as they should be. Because and as a single group. Yeah, I mean, because I think they see people go back and forth between console and PC.
Sure, I do. Now I do most of it with my Xbox controller, but I do go back and forth. Sometimes I'll play games on the Xbox, sometimes on the PC. It kind of depends on where I have an exciting new game or where I'm reviewing a new game for the site. But I do bounce back and forth, you know. If Amazon Twitch Prime puts out a game that I just can't skip, I'll go over to the PC. If Xbox Live has a game, and, you know, Portal is free for those who haven't played it right now for the Xbox. So, you know, so a game like that, maybe you'll swap back over to the Xbox. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I go back and forth all the time. But to not have to pay $60 every time, right? A couple times a month, to pay $10 and know that any new Microsoft games, you know, anything from Xbox Studios is going to be available to you. That's a pretty great setup as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
Yeah,
that's a good deal.
But of course, if you're not interested in essentially leasing the game, which is what this situation is, because when it leaves the collection, it leaves your collection, and you want to continue to purchase them for PC. Obviously, Microsoft Studios or Xbox Studios has been using the Microsoft Store as its distribution platform, but starting now, the Xbox Studios catalog, all new PC games from Xbox Studios, will be available through Steam as well as the Microsoft Store, which is also a big deal, because if you have the fear that the Xbox for PC will one day go the same way as games for Windows Live, there's very little fear that Steam will ever go that way. And so you have a second option on how to purchase games. So your platform of choice, you're not being locked into anything, which really falls into Microsoft's make stuff available everywhere methodology that has come into play since Satya took over the company from Ballmer, who had a very Microsoft first philosophy, so much so that Office for iPad had already been done for 6 months, but he wouldn't release it because the Windows 8 version wasn't available yet. Whereas Satya's like, you want Outlook on your iPhone? Whatevs, here it is. So, yeah, it's a very different methodology, and this definitely falls into that business model, right?
Yep.
So if you want to buy Halo, and it's a good example, the Halo collection, or basically anything new coming from Microsoft, it will all be available on Steam. And as of yesterday afternoon, there were, I think, 49 Xbox Studios titles available on Steam already. So they're even adding the back catalog stuff in. So they are committed to this change, and I think it's a good one. It's definitely the anti-Apple model, right? It's everything has to be us. Microsoft's like, well, wherever you are, we want to be there too. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And again, we will hear more about both of these next. Oh yeah, I guess it's next Sunday, right? Is there E3 press conference? So we will literally probably be talking about it during the show next Sunday, because I think the press conference is like an hour before the show. So
yep,
that will be our gaming topic next week. Will be Microsoft's E3 press conference. So we'll have a whole lot more information next week, and we will definitely share that with you then. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live is proudly powered by Riff Tracks. Make fun of movies, or let these guys do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corvitt, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best, creating commentaries for Hollywood blockbusters and B-movie oddities like Octoman, which was their most recent live event, which we'll talk about in just a second. The way it usually works is for a couple of bucks, you download the MP3, you play it along with your DVD, Netflix, Amazon, wherever the movie happens to exist, and laugh. Some of the titles are also available as full video, usually including their live events. And speaking of live events, they do a couple of them a year. The next live event will be Star Raiders, which is actually this week. It'll be on June 6th, and then a replay on the 11th in theaters nationwide. To find out all of the theaters that you can see their live event and find out all the movies that are available, you can go to f5live.tv/rifftracks with an X. They've changed their preview player on the website, and it got me all confused. So used to stealing my information during the promo, and it doesn't work anymore. Anyway, so anytime something becomes popular, inevitably becomes a platform for advertising. It's just the way the world works. And the one platform that has seemed to be immune to this, thanks to its moderation team, has been Wikipedia. Yes, companies figure out ways to manipulate their own pages to best suit their own information. But this week, or over the last couple of months apparently, the marketing team Leo Burnett TaylorMade, on behalf of the North Face, decided to try something different. And the thing they tried was taking advantage of Wikipedia's very, very high search ranking for both content and photos to put the North Face logo in more places. And here's how they did it. They went looking for some of the most searched for natural beauties, places that people are looking for, places that people want to go. They found them on Wikipedia, and after traveling there with models and North Face products, took photos and replaced the photos on Wikipedia of the location with their photos of the location, just with a semi-conspicuous North Face logo featured in the image. So if it's a mountain range, rather than just a photo from the top of a mountain onto the range, they would replace it with maybe a hiker with a North Face backpack looking out over that same mountain range from a similar peak. So the photos didn't change significantly. The photos continued to represent the locations, and the North Face logo appeared all over the internet because, more often than not, Wikipedia is the first image that is found in Google search under the Images tab. Pretty brilliant. And they would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those pesky video producers at TaylorMade, who produced a video extolling the virtues of their essentially vandalism on Wikipedia. And if they hadn't claimed to have collaborated with Wikipedia on this scheme, Wikipedia probably would have kept it quiet and just said, hey guys, we're reverting all your stuff, do it again, and we're going to make you look stupid. But they claimed to have collaborated with Wikipedia, so Wikipedia had to put an end to it. So they called them out publicly, reverted all of the changes, and have essentially made it so that these guys, anything that comes from the IP addresses will get flagged. And now obviously moderation's going to go up on everything because these guys had a really clever approach to owning Google image search.
Yeah, well, that's really smart, but the thing is, I'm surprised it took them saying something to get caught, because Wikipedia, the people who edit Wikipedia are hardcore.
Yeah, they are.
Like you edit something and they will like almost immediately edit it back.
Uh-huh.
You know, I can't say how many, you know, it hasn't happened to me too much because I don't go in and try, but I know, you know, at certain times at my job or whatever, I think we've tried to like edit things, like even our own entries about ourselves, you know, and things get reverted back. So well, like,
especially if you edit something about yourself, because Wikipedia has a policy that no firsthand information can be used.
Oh, fair enough. But
which is fascinating.
But even like, let's say, I don't know. Yeah, I think we tried once a long time ago, like, oh, here's a page about this laptop, and there are all these references to it. Mm-hmm. Could we make our review one of the references or something like that? You know, but people there are watching like a hawk.
Indeed.
You know?
We have, I think, on the page for John DiMaggio, the voice of Bender, I think the link to our interview with him is still on his Wikipedia, and possibly Maurice LaMarche, the brain from Pinky and the Brain. But Rob Paulson's got reverted, and Phil Lamar's got reverted within like hours of making the change. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I've watched it happen myself.
And that's relevant content too. It's not like you were just you know.
Right.
But yeah, so like, yeah, I think we'd all like to get more placement in Wikipedia, but it's one of those things where the people guard it very, very carefully. And yeah,
I just this week, one of my favorite shows, American Ninja Warrior, came back, and the field reporter changed. It's not Kristen Leahy anymore, and so I went to find out. And somebody linked to Wikipedia and said, no, she announced last year that she wasn't coming back for 2019. And I went to Wikipedia and it didn't say that. And so I went and I looked through just the edit history. And this one comment about her not returning to her show on some on TV, I don't remember what, and her not returning to American Ninja Warrior was up and down so many times over like a 6-month period. Somebody would put it in, somebody would revert it. Somebody would put it in, somebody would revert it. It was fascinating to look at. So yeah, it's surprising that nobody said, no. There's a logo in here. You're up to something.
Yeah, I'm very surprised.
Or maybe the moderators for the Rocky Mountains, or you know, whatever pages they went after, maybe they're not as hardcore as sports and tech people. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I really wish I could figure out like how to pitch whoever the editors are for the pages. Like, hey, we've got this really relevant information for you. You know, but yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those things. So I'm kind of, as someone who likes to get good search placement, I kind of admire what they tried to do. On the other hand, Wikipedia was absolutely right to kick them out. So
yeah, because it, for a number of reasons, the most important being that it absolutely violates the community standards policy of Wikipedia. Yeah. It is very clear that you cannot do that.
Yeah.
So obviously it's all been reverted back at this point, and the North Face and TaylorMade have both issued apologies, saying we didn't mean to harm anybody. We just wanted to advertise on your site without paying anything. which didn't go well, but whatever. Anyway, fascinating experiment, and you gotta give them credit for trying, but there was no way it was gonna last, especially when you go out and brag like a moron. That was their undoing. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. You know your basic benefits, but you may not know that there's a whole bunch of stuff that you get as part of Prime, like Amazon Prime Music, which gives you several million tracks available to stream for free. Avram's favorite, Amazon Prime Video, which has TV, movies, documentaries, both original and licensed content available as part of your subscription. Then there's my favorite, which is Twitch Prime, which gives you one free subscription to a channel of your choice. You can use that to help support us at PLUGHITZ Live, or your any other content creator that you want to support. You also get free games every month, which we discussed a little while ago. They change all the time, and they are yours to keep and play on your PC all you want. I play them way too often, and more often than not, when I switch back to PC gaming, it's because of an Amazon Prime game, or a Twitch Prime game. And if you have a Nintendo Switch, you can get a free year of Switch Online right now, all part of your subscription. And the best part is, we have links to make it easy for you to find all of these features. And if you're not a current subscriber, we've got a 30-day free trial to help you find out if the service is for you. And all of that can be found at f5live.tv/prime. So, in the online media space, probably one of the longest running brands is also one of the most convoluted and hated brands, and that is iTunes. The software launched in 2001. Yes, it is old enough to vote, or at least will be in October. It is obviously very old software, and when it first launched, it was designed to be the legal Napster, which is a fun name to get to say. A place where you could legally purchase music instead of downloading it from Napster. And over the years, it has added all kinds of things to it. And when you take something that was originally very focused and start globbing things onto it, it becomes convoluted, which is where we are with iTunes. It's got podcasts, it's got TV and movies, it's got music, it's the way you sync ringtones to your iPhone. It is just the way too much for a single platform. So nothing has context. And if you've ever tried to sync a ringtone to your phone and tried to sync music to your phone, the process, very different. And so, just like Apple has done with the iPhone itself, where there is no longer an iTunes app on the phone, there's an Apple TV, an Apple Music, Apple Podcasts. There are individual apps for the individual contexts. We hear that tomorrow, in about 12 hours, give or take, from where we are live, Apple will be announcing the retirement of iTunes and the release of individual apps for the individual contexts, just like on the phone, which for me is a much better idea. I think if you keep contexts nice and tight, they're way easier to use. But for Apple users, it might be a confusing switch. If you only use the PC, or God forbid you use iTunes on Windows, it might be a confusing switch for you. Right?
Yeah. Well, death of an old brand.
Mm-hmm.
Death of a very old brand.
The origin of basically almost the beginning of the i, right?
Yes.
The iMac, I think, was the only thing before it.
Yeah, iMac, iTunes, iPod. Well, yeah, I guess it was iPod come after iTunes or before iTunes?
The iTunes software was available shortly before the iPod, like by a matter of months.
All right. So
They were both 2001.
right. So right. So you've got the iPod and you've got the iTunes and you got the iPhone and the iPad.
Yep. The phone was 7. The pad was 10, I think.
Right. So I got to think that Apple wants to get rid of this i stuff. It wants to get rid of the i branding,
which I have been saying. For a couple of years. Obviously, we've seen all of their new products launch sans the i, and I don't blame them because they lost control over it. Right? There's the company that we see at CES every year, iDevices, that makes a grill thermometer. Like they totally lost. They totally lost control of the brand. And that was inevitable. There was no way they weren't going to lose control of that because there was no way they could trademark the lowercase i. I mean, Logitech had it before them, right? There was the iPhone from Logitech long before there was the iPhone from Apple. So, there was no way they were going to maintain control over that. And I think putting the Apple logo, the Apple Watch and things like that, I think is a way better idea for them.
Yeah, also think about this. The I stood for internet because, this new thing called the internet. Now that people have had mass availability and use of the internet for over 20 years, you don't need to call out the fact that something has to do with the internet. Yeah. It's not new anymore.
Nor is it exciting.
Right. It's not new and exciting anymore. Like you should probably just change email to mail.
Right. I was going to say, it is just as obnoxious as computer terms starting with an E, having tech terms start with an I. They are equally obnoxious.
Right.
E-commerce. Nope. It's just buying stuff. You don't need to say e-commerce.
Right. I mean, I think they're trying to distinguish online from offline, but and I understand why you need to do that, but then considering which one is dominant, maybe you should just switch them around. Maybe it should be o-commerce. for when you're at the store. Or B&M. S-mail for when you send a letter, because what's more common now? The electronic one.
Absolutely.
I think with phone, right? It's becoming a point where I don't think people say smartphone very much anymore.
No.
Right? It's just my phone.
Yeah, exactly. Because most people only have that phone today.
Right. So if you were one of those people who has a non-smartphone, then it behooves you to say, I have a dumb phone. Or I have a feature phone.
Or a landline.
To
call out the oddity makes sense. And today, something being internet connected, not an oddity, because I got light switches that are internet connected. It's not interesting.
Right. Everything's internet connected, so you can't really tout that as a great brand strategy. And so I understand why they would want to get rid of the I, even if there wasn't concern about other companies using it.
Yeah, even if they hadn't lost control over it. But they did try to reclaim the definition. It was about personal electronics, which that never worked.
Oh, belongs to me.
Which was a dumb move, but I understand why they needed to do it, because exactly what we're talking about, because it being internet connected didn't make it exciting.
I get why they'd want to do it, because now they're in a kind of a catch-22, right? With the iPad and the iPhone, right?
Right. Trying to change that name would be a disaster at this point.
I bet they could, but there's so much equity in those brands.
I think
that you kind of don't want to change it.
I think the X would have been the time to do it.
Yeah, there's so much equity in those brands.
Yeah.
That you don't want to do it, but at the same time,
Clear Channel changed all of their radio stations to iHeartMedia.
Because they like the I.
So, I mean, it can be done. It's just not necessarily a great idea. Because you lose all of that brand equity. So, So obviously, this will be the end of another i product, because for sure the apps will be called Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, and Apple TV. And probably something like Apple Sync for the actual syncing of stuff to an iPhone, an iPad, things like that, which isn't all that important anymore. Most people do it through iCloud, which I have a feeling will be their next loss of I, because most people forget that it even exists. It's not like forefront like Dropbox or what? Not SkyDrive. What's it called? OneDrive.
OneDrive.
Wow, I could not get SkyDrive out of my head. That's been years. Anyway, it's not, the brand name's not forefront at all. All of the iCloud stuff kind of happens in the background. If they change the name of it, nobody would notice. But I think it'll be a suite of things all called Apple something, just like it is on the phone. So I think that's a good move for them. Trying to split that thing up I think is important, because I hate using iTunes. I hate the software. It is so big. It is so clumsy to go. If you want to, this is my favorite, like, too much stuff is in iTunes. If you create a new Apple account and you want to use it to upload a podcast to Apple Podcast Connect, you have to go to a desktop and open iTunes and go to a thing where it's going to ask you to add a credit card, and you have to hit skip before you can go add a podcast to Apple Podcasts. What? Like, way too much stuff tries to run through iTunes, and pulling back on that strategy, I think, is the best case scenario for consumers. So, fingers crossed. Goodbye tomorrow to iTunes. Very few of us will miss you. And that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We appreciate you coming back after our hiatus last month. Like I said at the beginning of the show, there is a lot of new content coming. We've got I've got 3 different events up on the whiteboard for publishing right now, and none of that is the 80-something interviews we did at Collision. So there is a lot of new content coming. Plus, we've got all kinds of new product reviews. You'll notice that for the first time in like 6 or 7 years, I have new headphones on my head. During the show. These are actually review headphones, so I'm doing 2 different product reviews while we're doing this show right now, because this microphone's a product review as well. So we've got all kinds of new product reviews. Oh, and the cable that you're hearing me on if you're watching live is also a product review. Anyway, lots of new stuff coming, so definitely check out the site. PLUGHITZlive.com will be your central repository for everything new, so definitely check it out. And on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we will see you guys back next week. Ciao.